everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm super excited for the folks that we have on the phone today from Wiseman and Associates. My name is Niko Kantouros. I am the Director of Customer Success with Proformex. So really, have been focused on working with our customers like Wiseman to make sure that they're getting the most out of Proformex. And we're excited to have both Tom and Reid on with us today to kind of go through their experience with Proformex and how they've been able to implement the solution to better service their clients and streamline some of their processes. Without further ado, let me give you a quick introduction. Tom, if you want to kind of start out, maybe with your role with Wiseman, and then Reid will let you kind of go through your role as well, and then if you could, Tom, just give a background of the company and how you guys got to where you are today.
Sure. So I'm Tom Wiseman. We started Wiseman Associates about 35 years ago, actually, in Pittsburgh, and then in Winchester, Virginia, and Middleburg, Virginia, which is kind of where we live these days. Historically, we've done everything from life, long-term care. Asset management is a big piece of our business. We had a health division, 401k division, and we've really honed all that down now to really doing high net worth asset management. And we try to do high net worth life. We seem to do a lot of term and stuff along with it these days. But so that's kind of where we are right now. We're leaned down from a high of about 26 people down to I think there's 3 of us normally in the office in Virginia, and 3 or 4 folks that are outsourced. So I think that's kind of a high level overview.
Great. Reid, what do you do for Wiseman and Associates?
So I am the life insurance administrator. I kind of do all the behind the scenes work, new business, existing business, and just trying to make Tom and Lucy's life as easy as I can.
Awesome. Yeah.
Niko, I would say we've got Reid's a big golfer, so his job is to take the case, and put it on the tee, right, and tell me which club to hit it off with, right. So he's trying to really teeing up a lot of our new business, our service, that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. That makes total sense, right? And I think the kind of, with Tom, with you, and being the advisor and writing the business and having the back end admin facilitate the information that needs to go into the in-force management of those policies is like a good tandem to get you guys over that hump and to streamline your processes.
Right.
Going from that, let's kind of jump into some of the questions that I have for you guys today that will help out some of our other customers that are out there as well. As far as your guys' processes for in-force management prior to coming on board with Proformex, could you explain what that looked like and what some of those processes entailed to kind of stay ahead, or if you were doing that before, what were the processes that you had previous?
Yeah, I mean, I could touch on that because Reid's only been with us about a year. I'm probably like a lot of other independent life agents. I've written business over the years with a multitude of companies. We've, done a lot of policy review work for attorneys, accountants, and people. So there are a lot of policies in our database that we didn't actually sell. We just try to keep track of for people. And historically, it's been a huge Excel spreadsheet. We've fed it into our Salesforce database, but it's historically been a manual process. So, it made it incredibly challenging to go to a carrier website and, update what's there and watch for lapse notices or watch for conversion opportunities. Just an incredibly antiquated system, I would say. And to make an analogy to the securities business, that's the same way that business was, 20 years ago. But now you can push a button and see all your clients' accounts and up-to-date data and, run reports and all that. And that's what we were looking for when we stumbled across Proformex.
So Tom, to kind of elaborate a little bit, so the major pain points that you would call out in the previous process would be probably having to go to each carrier and carrier website manually. Were you making a lot of phone calls to carriers? What would you say were the biggest challenges previously?
I mean, well, I wasn't personally. My team was,
Yeah.
and just incredibly challenging to. I think there are roughly 600 policies in our database, across, I'm going to say, 20 carriers at least. So just trying to stay on top of, when are premiums due, when are lapse, are there potential lapse notices, are we nearing a conversion period for term? That was all a manual process, and somebody on my team was spending countless hours, trying to figure that out. Or if we're doing on the asset management side, like an annual review for a client, to have to go to, the American General or Voya or whatever website, and search all that stuff manually, then manually put it into some sort of pretty format. We had like this Excel spreadsheet template, and it took three of us to look at it and to be like, all right, is that like 100% accurate?
Yeah.
There was a pain point or a choke point, I guess you would call it, in every piece of that process.
That makes sense. Yeah, a lot of challenges that many of our customers that come on board face as well.
Yeah, it's not an uncommon problem amongst my peers in business.
Sure. So since coming on to Proformex, I guess it kind of touches on what your challenges were, but how do you currently utilize the platform to help manage those policies?
I'll let Reid jump into that. I mean, my really comments would be, it's a work in progress. We're kind of new to Proformex, but we're starting to be able to, or not starting, we have been able to use reminders and annual review processes and all that. So it's automated our process. The behind the scenes, pushing the buttons, making it all happen is Reid's role. So Reid, I'll let you jump into there.
No, yeah, like Tom was saying, if we have a client who has 6 different policies with 4 different companies, it's a great place to be able to kind of put those all in one spot and put it in a place that's easy for them to read, easy to understand, and makes it our life easier.
Yeah, for sure.
So actually, and maybe rewind a little bit, but what were some of the big goals or tasks that you had in mind with going with Proformex, right? So touches on some of probably the streamlining of the processes. And Tom, you talked about the team size. Maybe that plays a factor or in the goals that you had with going with Proformex, but maybe touch on that.
Right. I mean, the first goal I would call, consolidation of data and efficiency, right? So let's get all the data in one place and not, it's in Salesforce example, but that was a manual process. So is it accurate? Is it up to date? No, So we were doing, and I think a lot of us in the industry have this problem, probably not a great job of being on top of reviews of policies and annual reviews. And, so the goal was to automate the data so we could spend our time working with the client, really was the primary goal. And then secondary, of course, is revenue. I mean, I think over the years, we probably missed our share of, term conversion opportunities or, I've been in the business long enough that all those 10, 20, 25-year terms I sold, 25 years ago are coming due, right? So, not missing those opportunities, number one. And number two, the liability of not being on top of it. So I'd say it was kind of a threefold goal.
Great. Yeah, and those are great goals, and kind of leads into the ROI factor kind of question that I have as far as what you think the highest benefit or value add for Proformex could potentially be or has been to date for you guys.
I mean, I'm going to lob one into Reid's court here, but we got this little challenge right now, which is, we have a very active asset management practice a very active new life insurance opportunity practice. And I've tasked Reid with, as I said, teeing up, packaging a transaction, or packaging an opportunity is a better way to say it. And, laying it on my desk once a day, right? Just give me one a day to look at and say, oh, I remember this guy, what's the story? He's putting together a whole package, what did we sell originally? What was the, how did we design it? What's happening with that carrier? How's it performing? He's putting all that into one concise, it's a learning process for both of us, but one concise package, and kind of laying on my desk. And Reid, you can answer this, but I would argue we've probably uncovered, a pretty nice transaction maybe once a week over the last 3-4 months.
Oh, absolutely.
On top of new business. Sorry, Reid. Yeah.
From the conversion period ending within 2 years to the coverage lapsing within 2 years, it just kind of keeps things from falling through the cracks when it could have in the past. And
yeah, that's great. And that's something that Proformex, the platform itself, tries to call out right away in the main dashboard is, what you guys should draw your attention to right away so that it doesn't fall through, or you don't miss an opportunity to take action on it. So
right.
Spot on. That's great to hear. So Reid, actually, so from you, go ahead, Tom. Did you have something else?
Well, I just throw out the other thing that it's done is put us in a position to be proactive as opposed to reactive. So, we've had a few over the last few months where, there was a settlement opportunity we didn't realize that was there, or a client whose conversion period was ending that really needed the coverage and couldn't get new coverage, So it's protected us, if you will, against liability. And that's coming true, week by week.
That's great to hear. So Reid, for you, when you're packaging that information together for Tom, I guess, do you have any way as far as measuring improvements to productivity or time savings on your end with leveraging Proformex compared to the manual processes before?
Yeah, no, absolutely. The biggest thing is just, like Tom said, kind of consolidating everything into one place instead of having to get something from the carrier, dig something out of our files that could be outdated. And, it's just nice to have everything right there. So, you're a couple clicks away from seeing a whole client's policy list and everything that we need.
Cool. And then, so I guess here's kind of a fun one for you, Reid, being in there mostly. But what was the best feature, or I guess functionality within Proformex that you leverage the most
I would definitely say the policy expiring within 2 years, the conversion dates, because some of those can be hard to track down even in the original policy. Mm-hmm. So to just have all that right there in front of you has been a huge help.
Cool. So probably a question for both of you guys, but looking ahead, which it's something that for Proformex, where we are today and where we're headed is a lot of feedback and information from our customers. And what we build in the product, quarter by quarter, is really pushed through by our customers that are in there using the product. So what would you like to see kind of long-term from Proformex or included in the product that maybe, isn't quite there yet for you guys?
Reid, you want to tackle that one first?
I'm trying to think of a good answer, but what do you think, Tom?
I would say, it's a work in progress to automate the data, right? I know when we first started, and Niko, it was a pain point for us, and I know you guys are working on it. We're working on it. The original process was, okay, we're going to look at this policy on the anniversary date, or maybe a couple of months before. That's our trigger date, and we got to send information out to the carrier, get it back, upload it, automating that process so that we have a data feed that's up to date, and I think the challenge there is not in our willingness and hope to do it, or the folks at Proformex's, driven desire to make that happen. It's the carriers. It's getting enough momentum. We've talked about this, and enough of us out here in the field to come together and help you guys push the carriers to help us automate this data, so that it just becomes more and more efficient and automated.
Yeah, you have the most frequent updates that you can at your disposal at a given point.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like that old ad for Xerox when the monks are in the basement, chiseling out, the copies, right? You guys are all too young for that, but that's the way we feel. Like, we have a carrier right now that which will remain unnamed. It's just so archaic to try to even, hey, is this policy still in force or not? It kills you.
And I mean, over the course of the last 6-8 months, Proformex, we have been able to come a long way with our not only relationships with the carriers, but also data in the door from the carriers. And Tom, you hit on it. It's all driven from our customers, like our relationships, our GA relationships, our advisor relationships, and all of our customers coming together and saying, hey, we need this data to help better service our clients. And that's why carriers are willing to kind of push it forward in a more frequent basis, or make it easily accessible for us to provide that information. So that's awesome. Final question. What advice would you kind of offer to your peers or distributors that are trying to tackle similar problems that you guys faced before starting to use Proformex? Like, what would you offer to them as kind of a words of wisdom?
I mean, I would say, the classic garbage in, garbage out, right? You got to, we as agents have got to provide the most accurate data in the initial setup, and we learned that the hard way. Granted, we did it, a couple of years ago. You guys have come so far since then, but, giving you the right access, the right, accurate data, et cetera, I think is the first issue. And then second, in our world, we really didn't have somebody, unless it was, 4 or 5 years ago when I had all those people, but we've since sold off all those divisions. We really haven't had anybody dedicated to the life insurance business, administrative side of our business for a long time. And I think if you're, I would argue, compared to a lot of my peers, a lot of my friends at Lion Street, some of the other, FFR, some other groups, we're a small shop, right? And if we're having that much trouble, I think you just got to dedicate, within your firm, the right amount of people to handle this thing head on. I mean, in our world, it's a full-time job, and Reid's, I think he thought he was going to play golf every afternoon, but, not going to happen.
Exactly.
No, that's a great point, Tom. And something that we stress now early on in the process is having that dedicated resource to spend the time on those policies, is needed. But in addition, the outcome of that is new opportunities that you guys are going to be able to surface from that existing book that now you have someone working, right? So it's kind of twofold, right? What you put in is what you get. So that's a great advice is, I think, to push out there.
Niko, you mentioned return on investment. I think that without Proformex, this would be a 2, maybe even a 3-person job in my shop, because we outsource our case design, and run all the illustrations, all that stuff. We don't do that in-house. We outsource that. We get help from Lion Street with a lot of our underwriting, a lot of that work. So those are both kind of outsourced. This is something's got to be handled in-house. And if we didn't have this kind of consolidated database, Reid, I don't know if you agree, probably be at least a 2-person job.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
you know, obviously the biggest challenge was just getting everything into the system and then, you know, just kind of letting you guys do the rest.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Well, hey, we'll wrap on that note. Thank you guys so much for taking the time with us today. Greatly appreciated, and looking forward to continuing the relationship with Wiseman and Associates. So thanks again, Tom. We'll let you get back to the sun. Reid, someone's got to do the work. So unfortunately,
exactly. Thank you so much, Niko.
Niko, one thing I would just add is if you know any of your users, potential users, want to talk about it or have questions, just let us know. I'm happy to help.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We appreciate it. And thank you guys so much.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.
All right. Bye.